want to welcome Dr. Grandpichet on this special day. We're a day late, but we want to wish you a very belated happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
As many of you know, Dr. Grandpichet is a celebrated and respected expert in the field of autism with 40 years of experience. Her influence in the autism community is felt around the world, not just only through her work at CARD and organizations like the founder of Autism Care and Treatment Today, but many of you may not know about Dr. Doreen's other accomplishments.
Oh, God.
For instance, you may not know that when Dr. Grandpichet was a teenager, having just arrived in the States, she went on tour with Genesis as their mysterious and often overlooked sixth band member,
God, that's amazing.
which she is credited with keeping the band together. In fact, when she left, it was mere minutes before Phil Collins left the band, which is why she is sometimes referred to as the Yoko Ono of Genesis.
That's awesome.
Next, she played a pivotal role on The Sopranos as Tony
God.
Soprano's fill-in therapist whenever Dr. Jennifer Melfi was otherwise occupied. It was her character that advised Tony to forget about it. In her spare time,
amazing.
Dr. G made guest appearances on Breaking Bad as the expert pizza throwing on the roof consultant. Lately, she splits her time between punching up jokes for famed stand-up comic Bill Burr.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And
I love that.
Guest starring on the hit show Game of Thrones.
Oh, perfect. Oh my God.
Dr. Doreen, we wish you the happiest of birthdays.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you, Samantha.
Okay.
And I have to thank Shannon. That's amazing.
Yes.
That's so crazy.
Thank for your enjoyment there
I'm
for
gonna
your
have,
birthday.
That was fantastic. I'm gonna have to get those little clips and
Those
show
images?
them to my
Okay.
family, those images, because those were the best. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we have lots of questions. We want to remind everyone that the advice given is not child-specific and is meant to be general in nature. There is no expert who can give child-specific advice in this format. So,
Absolutely. So we'll do the very best we can to answer these lovely questions that are coming in. And there's
Okay.
a lot of them.
yes, there are. So, hello, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Wonderful again to listen to you both every week. Love the show. My son is 7.5 years old with ASD and lots of
Trying to find
challenges.
that one.
Can you find this one?
No, let me see. No, but that's okay. Go ahead. I'll just write it down.
Okay. We are in New York. He's having lots of challenges, aggressive behaviors,
Okay.
still having articulation problems. We are in New York. He is in a contained class, has a one-on-one aide, OT, speech, counseling. ABA is not provided by the school. Also has academic problems. He can't read, which frustrates him, and getting schoolwork done at school is a challenge. His behaviors haven't improved and his academics are behind, and soon he will be in 3rd grade. How can I convince the school that I feel my son is not making progress?
Right.
Already had a meeting, they are procrastinating the next one. I feel they give in too easy on him during tantrums and that his services and behavior approaches are inconsistent. I don't feel the teachers are knowledgeable to handle all his challenges, and that's why we are stuck. But I'm torn since he loves his school and his one-on-one even when I know it is not working for him. Please, any advice?
Perfect. Can I just put that one in front of me as I answer it? Because that's a long one. Great. So 7.5 years old, and he has a lot of challenging behaviors and a lot articulation issues. And in New York, and you're in a contained class, and he has a one-to-one aide. Great. OT speech counseling, ABA is not provided by
Right.
school. Wow. Okay, so and he was swimming. I don't know his functioning level, so it's a little bit hard to advise. But honestly, as much as we want our kids to be happy, and he seems to be happy and he likes his school, I think it's really important that at this age we get some of the aggression under control, because as he ages, you don't want him to be aggressive and have challenging behaviors. That's really, really important. Even 7.5, it's already kind of concerning. So you would think that in school they would be addressing these issues, but obviously if they don't have the specialized one-to-one services for him, like the
Right.
ABA, they might not really know how to deal with those things. And as you said, when you say you feel like they give in too easy when he has a tantrum, obviously what's happening in that case is he tantrums, he probably gets what he wants when you say they take it too easy on him. So he either gets what he wants, or he gets to leave, or he gets to somehow get a reinforcer, essentially. So tantruming behavior is going to increase. It's not going to go away. And so I agree with you that they're probably maintaining some of those behaviors. Maybe not, maybe inadvertently, like maybe they're just not aware of it. But I think it's really important that you do look at other schools where he might be able to get better services, or you actually start getting ABA for him. And the ABA that you get for him could be in school, but it could also be outside of school, after school. So you're in New York. New York is a covered state, so if you have health insurance, medical insurance, you should be able to get coverage. And if you get ABA coverage, then you'll be able to supplement with ABA at home on the weekends after school. And then those people, whoever your ABA provider is, can go in and also work with the school and teach the school. Now, the process for doing all that is you can look online. We, of course, have several offices in New York, but I don't know where you are. So just go online and look for applied behavior analysis providers. You will find there's a lot of providers in New York. It's pretty packed with providers, just like California. And you'll find providers, and you'll get in touch with them, and they will do their own format of admissions and intake. So like what we do here is we'll do a bunch of testing. We'll have you fill out a lot of questions online. And then once we get sort of a profile, during the time we're assessing your child's skills and deficits and behaviors, challenging behaviors, we submit all your paperwork to your insurance, and then we get an authorization. We get that in, and then we start providing treatment based on the authorization. And you should be able to get a bunch of hours if he has challenging behavior. That's really easy. Like, no insurance is going to ignore a child who has aggression. So that's one of the things that we would be able to do. Focus on what is the most important. Right now, academics are not as important as communication and challenging behavior. Like, the most important thing when he's 7.5 is getting his challenging behaviors under control, getting his language to increase so he can communicate better. That includes articulation, by the way. It's very frustrating for kids when they talk and no one understands what they're saying. Like, that's frustrating. So you have to fix all that and not worry so much about academics. Although I understand that he has problems there, and it could be frustrating for him where he falls behind academically as well. So you need a pretty comprehensive type of program that takes care of all of his needs. So my advice is really either get in touch with us or get in touch with another provider who's in your region, and there's so many in New York, and get them involved. This is not something your school's going to take care of right now.
Okay,
give this back to you.
great. And I don't think you have this page, but
I don't know.
Okay.
We can go to the next one.
Okay. Let's go to this page that you have, which
Okay,
is,
sure.
how do I teach my son how to react appropriately to situations? He either has no reaction, no facial change, or he overreacts and cries for situations that typical kids would not cry about. Do kids on the spectrum have a difficult time expressing the right emotion? How can I help? Thanks.
Right. I think I'm not sure that I would say they have a difficult time expressing the right emotion. I do think they might misinterpret things, which would then lead to a different emotion. And let's talk about what I mean with that. So no facial change or reaction might be just not understanding that what just happened. In other words, if you won't react if you don't realize what just happened, And overreacting is the same in some ways. I feel like, let's say a child might accidentally knock over your child's backpack at school, and your child will freak out because he'll either think, oh my God, like this was an intentional act, like he'll misread it, or he'll freak out just because he wants things in a certain order and now it's out of order. So there's features of autism that make us react differently to the world. So I don't think it's about not being able to express the right emotion, because when he's upset, he'll cry. But it might seem a lot more like an overreaction because it's so dramatic for our child what just happened. And that's just because, like, for instance, our kids have things like they're very obsessive about things being a certain way, some kids. And if you disrupt that, it's almost like someone with obsessive behavior, obsessive compulsive disorder, where their whole world falls apart.
Right.
And so that is what you're probably seeing. And so it's not really about changing the expression, it's about understanding what he's experiencing. So I would say you need to kind of try to see things from his perspective. And if you see, let's say, an overreaction, try to figure out why he's overreacting, and then try to, I don't know your child, but if he's able to express himself, maybe it would be really helpful to have him identify what it is he's feeling, what it is he's saying, why he thinks this. A lot of times our kids will, and this is also, by the way, it's typical of young children, typically developing. I remember when my son was really little, he was like, my kids hate it when I use them on this show, but I'm doing it anyway. But he was like maybe 4 years old or something, or 3 years old, and I was talking about firing someone at CARD, and he overheard it, and then I found him like in his closet crying, and I went and I was like, what is going on? And he said, why do you want to throw fire on someone? Right? And that's what he thought he heard. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And that was like what made him, and that happens often with our kids. They misunderstand a word, they misunderstand a situation, and then their reaction just is different. It's much more pronounced. So I think that's where you have to focus, is more like, what is his perspective? What is the child seeing or hearing that is making them react or not react?
Okay.
That's the cause of it.
Okay. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back. We've got more questions.
Great. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome back. It's April, which means it's also spring. And what we're going to be doing today is making our very own Chia pets. What's cool about this project, it's an activity that you can revisit with your family as you watch it grow and change. All right, now that I piqued your interest, let's get to it. The materials we'll be needing are water, dirt, arts and craft materials, chia seeds, a container, and nylon. So let's get started. It's super easy. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take an old pair of nylons that you have, you're gonna cut off the toe, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take some of your chia seeds and sprinkle them at the very bottom. We don't need too much, just a little bit. And then once I've got my chia seeds there, I'm gonna take my dirt and pour that in. And we wanna make sure that we've got quite a bit in there. You want to keep this tail. What this does is acts as a way to soak up the water to feed your little chia plant. So I'm going to take the bottom now. I'm going to tie this into a knot. So now that I've got this little guy, now it's time to decorate him. And you can decorate him however you feel like. What I did is that I made some little features out of felt that I'm going to add to my little guy to give him a face. Now that I've got them all decorated, I'm going to pour some water into my container and make sure my tail is all nice and soaked up in there. And here's my little buddy. I made a mouse, but you can always make whatever kind of creature your child finds super reinforcing. Make sure they like the little animal that you make so they'll want to come back and revisit him. As you can see right now, he's a little bald, but hopefully, keeping your fingers crossed, in a week he'll have some hair. With the snap of my fingers, we're gonna go through a week in a few seconds. And oh my gosh, this little guy has changed quite a bit. Can you see how? Yeah, he's got some hair now. You can have your kids describe how this little guy looks to their friends, and you can even work on body parts by having them label all the features that this little guy has on his face. So let's see, what does he have? He's got eyes, a nose, a mouth, and ears. What do you think will happen to him if I stop watering him? Yeah, he probably won't be growing any more hair if I did that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity. I know I did. Tune in next time, okay? And until then, Craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
And we are back with Ask Dr. Doreen. Our next question, hello, Dr. Doreen and Shannon, who we say hi to. She's not in yet. She'll be here a little bit later for Let's Talk Autism. You guys make my day every week. I have a 12, almost 13-year-old child with autism. He is verbal, but struggles with pragmatics, has a mood disorder, and is on Zoloft 100 milligrams for a year now. Is it normal that he is regressing as he ages? His cognitive skills decreased and have gotten slower to respond when handling situations. He acts like he is 6 or 7 in all ways, gets meltdowns over baby toys. His daily living skills got even worse, needs redirection for all, even worse on awareness, especially when out. He always had difficulties handling frustrations and routines, often ending in meltdowns. I thought as he got older he would improve on those areas, but he is worse. The therapist and myself switch techniques as we fail progress, and we always get stuck and don't move forward, and we have to go back to teach him even with PECs, even though he talks. We're on our 5th therapist in 5 years. Please advise.
Oh, yeah. So first of all, let's just be clear. There's no regression at this age that is for, random reasons. So there's no like spontaneous regression. So there's got to be something going on where he's acting out, basically. And I wouldn't worry about the Zoloft either. That's not going to cause this type of regression, and it actually is not bad to be on that right now, because whatever it is that he's handling he's having a hard time with it. What I want to, and I don't know his level of functioning, so keep that in mind, please. But what I do want to say is that a couple of different things. One is that just like us, as we age, our rewards in life change, right? So when we're little kids, a certain toy might be what matters or what is most rewarding. For us, as we age, it then goes from, like, let's say, for women, it goes from toys to people, to social, our friends. And then it goes to, like, self-image and boys and whatever else. For boys, it generally stays toys. They just change toys,
Toys, just older guy toys.
Exactly. And activities and games, right? I mean, boys are more into games. But the bottom line is that we all have different things that are our reinforcers. When you're like 10 years old, it's probably not going to be listening to classical music, but when you're 40, 50, it might be. So your things change, your rewards. And I don't know that, and it's really important in life. I mean, sometimes, as you know, life like throws things at us that are very, very hard, right? And in those moments of time, we have to increase our reinforcers, because the demands are too high, the struggles are too much, the depression gets to us, all that. So like when hardship gets higher, we have to increase our reinforcers just to balance it out and cope. That's coping. So like I look at, like right now, my life is extremely hectic and has been for a while. So I find myself reinforcing myself with, like, for instance, I'm eating more, which is not necessarily a healthy reinforcer, but definitely, because I know I'm not sleeping, so I try to fuel myself that way. And I think with life, everyone has to learn to do that, to like to first recognize this is a difficult time, I need to increase my reinforcers. So this is one thing that might not be happening, is that his reinforcers might not be either suitable to his age or interesting. Like if you get the same reinforcers continuously, by the way, they don't work anymore, right? Because you have access to them all the time. Like honestly, even if you think of the most, like let's say a big plate of ice cream. If I have ice cream every day, morning and night, I'm going to get sick of it. It's not going to be a reinforcer anymore. Just things that are initially reinforcing can lose value. So keep that in mind. Now with him, it could be the following things. Either he's not doing well with what is in front of him. So he's failing at certain things in his life. And that is internally, intrinsically not satisfying when you fail. So that's one thing. He could be failing at his tasks, in which case, if they're academic or daily living or whatever they are, you need to help and make them, model them, prompt them, break them down. A behavior therapist would like help him be successful at all times. So being unsuccessful is a horrible thing. And with kids, it ends up causing behavior problems because they're not successful. That's one thing. The second thing is things could be getting boring for him. I don't know. Like if it's a lot of repetition and if it's a verbal child and you're going back to PECs, it could be boring for him. It could be just like, drudgery. Like, why are you forcing me to keep doing this? So that could be causing him to act out as well. So that's another thing. Some of the things that just, if it's a child who's on an SSRI, like Zoloft, there's also, and you say mood disorder, but there's also the possibility that he's very obsessive compulsive. He needs, like, there are certain other aspects of things that he's kind of controlling anyway. Like maybe he wants to go do certain things that he's not able to do, and that's frustrating. What I'm trying to say is there are certain things that are frustrating and let's say difficult, demanding, and then he's probably not getting enough reinforcers as well. So you sort of need to balance that out. Either you make his tasks easier or you prompt them more so that he learns, and then you reinforce heavily as well. Having said all that, the one thing you definitely want to keep your eye on is attention seeking. A lot of kids, and I don't know, not usually at 12 or 13, but it could be, that he has learned a pattern of either getting out of tasks or seeking attention or getting attention when he acts out. That is probably a very common thing that happens all the time. So you need to look at that first. Has he learned that, like, you ask him to do something and he has throws a tantrum or something like that and he gets out of it? Has that happened? If that has happened, then that would explain pretty much everything, right? But one of the things that it says, he always had difficulties handling frustrations and routines often ending in meltdowns.
Right.
So it's sort of, if he's frustrated and he's always had an issue expressing that, that's where you need to focus, is to teach him how to express his frustrations and then help him not deal with a situation. Let me tell you, my 15-year-old might have the same kind of stuff. Like kids, when they're frustrated, they just have a meltdown. They don't know how to calm themselves down and express it. We even, when we're frustrated, we have a meltdown. So it's a matter of like figuring out for him, what is it causing his meltdown? Is the situation too hard? Is he not understanding it? Is he bored with it? Whatever those things are, break it down and express it, like help him express himself. Because honestly, if he's able to express himself and he has enough reinforcers coming in, then this stuff will stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's tough though when you see your child starting to have behaviors and they were doing before they were doing better. Yeah.
Very tough. This question is from, it looks like somebody that works with a family. I work with a child diagnosed with autism. The only service he has at school is speech. How can the parents get more services?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And of course, there are many, many states now that have insurance coverage. And so the first thing I would do is I would look and see if the family has insurance coverage. And unless you're with a self-insured company, you're most likely going to have coverage, because right now we have really good coverage even through Medicaid throughout the US. So I would look at their health insurance, and then through that process, it's sort of the same thing I was saying earlier to the other parent. You need to get your insurance information to a provider, a behavior analysis provider, so a behavior analyst. You look online, you'll find lots and lots of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis organizations, and contact them, send over your insurance information or have the parents do that, and then they will check for benefits. And then there's very few people right now in the US who can't access anything. And so once you have the benefits in place, that provider will get an authorization and they will start providing treatment. And honestly, that's the way to go, because we're too used to depending on speech, on services at school. And it's just, it doesn't compare. Like when you have insurance coverage and when you get access to that, it's so much better. It's so much more free. It gives you so much more freedom than what you get from school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this question here. Hi,
Which one?
Shannon and
Yeah,
Dr. Doreen,
yeah.
West Virginia mom.
Oh, I have them. Yep.
Okay. West Virginia mom here. As you know, my daughter is 6, considered high functioning. She's recently had another language explosion. Yay.
Yay.
Our speech team doesn't work on language as a whole. They work on articulation and aren't interested in anything else. This week, while I was cooking, she came to me and said she needed to ask me something, but that her body doesn't know what to do to tell me.
Aw.
By talking to her, I was able to gather that she wanted to know if she could help me prepare dinner. How would I work on this? Do I need to work on building her vocabulary or more on the social aspects of conversational speech? Thanks a bunch for all you guys do.
That is amazing. That's so cool. Okay. So West Virginia mom, you know that this actually, you know that there's a lot of different things that you have to teach to bring it together. It's not the social aspect in this particular case because she came up to you. So that's not going to be the thing that's holding her back. I think it's about just being able to express herself in more detail, lengthier conversation. And I would work on expanding, so like increasing the length of sentences with more descriptors. And there's a lesson in skills, and I think you're on skills, where it's ask versus tell, and that's an important lesson here for her, where you can teach her to ask for long things, like I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. And I think it's just a matter of, it's an expansion on the manding lesson, really. It's like, you can ask for things, but you can ask for a lot of things, not just specific objects. You can ask for activities, you can ask, and you can describe those. So that's where I would, and of course, you know, it's funny you mentioned vocabulary, because sometimes when I have really high functioning kids and we're like trying to figure out what it is that is holding them back, we'll do a bunch of testing and it ends up being vocabulary. You'd never think that, but the more vocabulary our kids know, the more fluent they are, the more comfortable they are. It affects a lot of things, and it never occurs to us that, by the way, they just didn't get enough vocabulary when they were younger.
Right.
So this is not a bad idea either, because if the more vocabulary she memorizes, and that depends on her memory, the better it will be for her overall communication. But social stuff is a little bit different. Like, it's a little bit more advanced, and you're not going to be worrying about that at 6 anyway with her.
Okay. Here's when my 12-year-old autistic grandson is resisting us in practicing good hygiene.
Okay.
He takes daily showers but does not want to shampoo his hair, brush his teeth, put on deodorant, etc. I feel like we are constantly nagging him. He says he doesn't care what people think of him stinking, etc. Help.
Okay. Okay. So if he, I don't know if he probably doesn't care. Like, he's telling you he doesn't care, and he probably doesn't care. So and I don't know if his functioning level is at the point where you can make him care. In other words, is he at the point where he would care if he lost friends, if this actually happened? So if, for instance, would he care if he heard people saying, "Oh, he doesn't smell good. We don't want to play with him. We don't want to hang out with him."
Right.
I don't know, but you know, that's why people care. It's because they can imagine the end result. He might not be able to imagine what it's like if people don't want to hang out with him, but he's just saying it. On the other hand, maybe he really doesn't care, and maybe he's not a very social guy anyway.
Right.
And he just, so that means the normal reinforcers for good hygiene don't exist for him, which means you need to put in some reinforcers. Now, nagging him is basically like prompting. Like, you're giving him an instruction and continuously reminding him. That becomes a lot of work for you. I want to ask you a question. As you nag him, do you give him rewards for doing these things? So, or is it just expected? And that's the thing. What I would do is I would go back and I would hold back some things that are majorly reinforcing. I don't know what that would be. He's 12, maybe it would be his laptop, his iPad. I wouldn't hold it back in a negative way, but I would maybe either restrict that access to it, or I would come up with new reinforcers, things that are very important to him, like particular games, things that he likes.
Right.
It could even be food reinforcers. It doesn't really matter. Reinforcers. And then I would go over and I would say, could you please do a good job shampooing your hair, or show me? And if you do, you can get this. And then basically reinforce each of these behaviors. So reinforce shampooing hair, reinforce brushing teeth, reinforce putting on deodorant, and break it down and give him a reward for each of those things. You can still nag him. You can still say, it's time for you to go brush your teeth. And he does it, and then he gets a reinforcer. But break it down and increase the reinforcer.
Right.
And one good way to do that, depending on his skill level, is to actually take a picture of him doing each of these and then put it on a sequential board. Like, so you'll put him shampooing, a picture of his doing brushing his teeth, putting on his deodorant, any other grooming type of hygiene type stuff. Then as he does each one, he can actually tell you, I'm done, and then he can get a reinforcer. And then over time, what ends up happening is then you start requiring him to do 2 things and get a reinforcer as opposed to just one, and then the whole sequence, and he gets the reinforcer.
Right.
So that's just shaping or chaining a series of skills, and that's all you need to do, really. But up the reinforcer and make it clear to him that these are the things that are necessary in order to get a reward.
Okay.
And make sure it's a reinforcer that he cares about.
Very good. Okay, let's take another quick break, and we'll be back with more of Ask Dr. Doreen.
Can you say hello? Say hello.
AJ?
Stop crying.
AJ, let's eat. Can you eat, AJ? Let's eat, son. Have a fry. My understanding of autism was very limited.
He would lick tires on cars, windows, you name it. And so we went to the 13-month checkup, and I remember our pediatrician, he said, well, he probably has autism. There's nothing you can do about it. Come back in a year when he's 3.
Our initial understanding of what the ABA program was basically all we picked up from this clinic in San Antonio.
He didn't pick up any signs the entire 8 months that he was there. I think the difference came when we changed vendors.
We were very impressed with the way that CARD actually gathered data to be able to quantify the progress that he was making. They have a curriculum that they follow that's tailored to each child. They were identifying AJ's strengths and weaknesses.
We were finally starting to see real progress.
Good, AJ. Here's eggs.
The first thing CARD did for us was, I remember the first time AJ said, Mommy, I want you. And that was the most wonderful thing ever. There's hope.
Yeah,
That's when I knew that there was hope. I never thought that AJ would be able to say that. It was like a gift from God. It was so fantastic.
With CARD, we got him enrolled in a private school.
And he was in a typical classroom. He would go from activity to activity. He could sit when he was supposed to sit. He could be around typical kids. The goal is for CARD to work themselves out of a job. It's for AJ to be in a mainstream classroom with no help, and he's functional and he's learning. We're really grateful to all of the therapists. AJ would not be where he is without them, and we will never be able to repay the part of themselves that they gave to him to make his life better and to make our lives better.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to, just,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Okay, good morning to Shannon and Dr. Doreen. How important is the psych evaluation during the 3-year IEP for high schooler? Current accommodations seem to be working and we continue to coach problem-solving skills. IEP went well. Unsure of time, cost versus info uncovered versus what can be done. Thank you, incredible, wonderful Shannon and Dr. Doreen, Haircut Mom.
Haircut Mom. We love our moms. So let's see. How important is a psych eval during the 3-year IEP for a high schooler? Well, you're asking a psychologist. So I'm going to say it's really important. I think it actually is pretty important. It depends on your child. How old is your? I don't remember how old the child is, but quite honestly, as our kids age, like let's say past 5 or 6, the psych eval becomes more important because it's not about psych. It's not like trying to figure out if they have mental illness. It's about trying to figure out what their learning style is and like what's their memory like, what's their speed of processing like. Do they learn more visually or auditorily? Those are the things that come out of psych testing. Okay. So it's sort of important when you do IQ testing in particular, it gives you so much information about how the child's brain works that it helps with teaching. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good idea to do it. The cost should be covered through your insurance. Like either the school district should be doing it, by the way. Right. Because it's a 3-year IEP, or you should get insurance coverage for that. You shouldn't be paying for that because it can be pretty expensive. Right, yeah. Okay. Want to know about BCAT. Is this course done in UAE? Also want to know what is Competent Learner Model, CLM? Does it come under ABA? Yeah. So I won't talk too much about the Competent Learner Model, but there's a lot of information about it if you're interested in learning about that, because that would take me for hours, is go on the IBT website. I think we have some more on that in the IBT website, Institute for Behavior Training, and I think their website is ibehavioraltraining.com. Right. But having said that, the BCAT is the Board Certified Autism Technician, and what you should do is go on their website, which is BICC, that's their organization. It's called Behavior Intervention Certification Council. Okay. Behavior Intervention Certification Council. And the BCAT coursework actually is on the IBT site that I gave you. It's a training that you can do. It's a series of modules, and you can purchase that on the IBT website, ibehavioraltraining.com. And you take it, it's 40 hours online, but then what you need in addition to that is some form of kind of a supervision, or I think you need to have a BCBA supervisor as well. But look on the IBT website and on the BICC website, and you'll get all the information you want. And then it's just a matter of taking the test, the BCAT exam. And I think you can set it up in a way that you do it proctored, so they allow you to do it even if you're in the UAE. I think they have a lot of international sites that they do this in. Okay. Next question. Is it appropriate for a 6-year-old going on 7 to start an ABA program with CARD? My son was diagnosed with mild autism and has a very high speech delay for his age, very minimal vocabulary. His general public school does not seem to be cutting it, with him only getting 30 to 45-minute sessions with a therapist twice a week, with one being a one-on-one.
I asked to bump up the amount of time and or sessions per week in our last IEP, but was sadly told by the therapist that her hands are full at the moment. With other more severe children, she would have to look into her schedule.
Right. So, yes, this is the type of program that we do. If you're getting twice a week for 30 to 45 minutes, that's a joke. No, that's not even ABA. That's they're using a speech model and giving you supposedly ABA. So don't think that you're doing ABA. That's not ABA. So with your child is 6 going on to 7, yes, absolutely, you should get into our program. We're actually really good with milder kids, so we have this level. Our expertise is for the very high functioning kids. That's kids who are severely impacted, of course, but it's easier to work with children who are actually much more severely. It gets harder when they're higher functioning because there's a lot of very cognitive levels of skills to be taught. So it's different. It's easy to teach a child how to say labels, words, single words. It's very hard to teach a child how to read someone's expressions or tell lies or that sort of stuff.
Right.
So really, yes, you should definitely start an ABA program. Now, given that he's 6, you really will only get somewhere around 15 to 20 hours of therapy per week, which is fine. It's not ideal, but I mean, I always want to ask for more because our kids benefit so much from therapy, but that's what you need. And what you should be doing is going for your health insurance again. It's funny, today we've had so many parents write in about using their schools.
Right.
And it's really, we're past that point now. We're at the point where you really should be getting much more coverage from your health insurance or Medicaid. And so please, get on our admissions portal and try to see what we can do for you, and we'll do our best. And you had a few with parents who had just written in, having a hard time getting in.
These questions have just come in. How long should it take CARD to do an intake? It is taking too long. I'm in Linwood, Washington.
Yeah, so here's the intake process, and it's a little bit, I'll explain the process, and I apologize if it's taking too long. I try to make that as fast as possible, but here's how it works. So we get your information, whether it's Medicaid or insurance, and commercial, and we send that in for authorization. So that's completely out of our hands. Now, the provider, whether it's Medicaid or commercial insurance, could take a month. Sometimes we have providers taking a ridiculous amount of time, and we're constantly going after payers, and we're constantly going after it and trying to get them to respond, and it is, you would not believe how difficult that is. So that's something we can't help. If they get the authorization to us, wonderful, then it's on us to schedule an intake with you. Now, let me tell you another kind of obstacle that we have to deal with. I think Washington, it might apply to you, I don't know. But one of the obstacles is that every few months, and this is recently this year, they added a series of new credentialing criteria. So they said all these supervisors who were supervising before now have to be credentialed at a different level, and they have to be in network at a different level. So that means a whole bunch of paperwork. So let's say I'm a supervisor and I've been supervising kids for a long time. The state regulations are changing constantly because this is sort of a new field. So then now they're saying, oh, you got to submit more paperwork to us, to the payers, and for us to approve you, Doreen, as a supervisor. And this now could take another month, or in some cases, and I won't name the payers because it would not be good for them, we have some payers where they're sitting on credentialing for 9 months, Nancy, 9 months, where we have kids waiting for these services, and we're calling them, bugging them, you name it. And I don't know if I don't want to say it's a tactic to delay treatment, because they shouldn't be doing that, but I don't know what it is, or maybe they're short-staffed too, whatever it is. But on our end, we do, in order to circumvent that situation, what we do is we try to get a supervisor from a different region who has the availability and is certified to go ahead and try to do intakes temporarily while these other supervisors get certified. So we all have our credentials. Nobody at CARD is supervising without a BCBA. Everybody has that. But The issue is just getting them in network with the payers, and that is a process that again is out of our hands. So outside of that, what I would suggest is if you could please give your information to Shannon. You emailed Shannon. She and I will follow up with admissions and see where you're stuck. There is also, if you started the admissions process, there's also a parent portal. Hopefully you were given information how to log on. This is a new thing we started about a month ago, where you can log on and see the status of your own authorization. So you can see what stage it's at. Is it with us? Is it with your insurance? Are we waiting for credentialing? Are we waiting for an authorization? Where is it? And then once we do the intake, we literally do everything we possibly can to get you started post-intake. Because once the intake is done, the intake is just an evaluation and an interview with you and so on and the child. And then we have 1 month or roughly to do a bunch of assessments. You then have to finish your skills. It could also be stuck there, by the way. A lot of parents don't realize that they don't move forward unless they fill out their skills assessment. You have to fill out your assessments, that paperwork that we gave you. When that's in the process, then we have a profile of your child. We write a report that says these are the hours I'm recommending. We send that in, and then your insurance authorizes that, and then we can start services. And so the process from intake to actual start usually is another month. So that's kind of the 3 stages that we got to get through.
Okay. We had another question from Moreno Valley, California. How can I get in touch with my local CARD office in Moreno Valley? I haven't gotten a call back. Also, is there a way to get my son ABA through the school district first? He is in 1st grade, verbal smart, but struggles with talking about his feelings.
So if you want to get with a CARD site, you just need to go through admissions. You can certainly get on our website, find the Moreno Valley site, call them up, leave them another message. I'm sorry they haven't called you back. I don't know why they wouldn't have called you back, but I assume you're just kind of trying to get information, because it doesn't sound like you're getting ABA yet. Or you could just call admissions, which is the 800 number on our website, or you can just sign up on our website too. And then someone from admissions will give you a bunch of information as well. Yes, you can get ABA through your school first, but it's kind of a longer process, to be honest with you. So the way to do that is to go to your school and ask for an IEP, and then through the IEP, they would do evaluations and they would assess and determine that your child does need ABA, and then they would get that whole process started. You know what? It's not a bad idea to do both. Because worst case, if I were you, I'd do both. Because then I'd get some hours from school, some hours from my health insurance, and I'd get more for my child. So do both.
Okay.
And certainly, again, for any of you guys that have a hard time getting through our admissions, first of all, I'm sorry. Secondly, it's probably because we're admitting about 300-400 kids a month. It's pretty crazy.
Right.
But what I would suggest you do is just send Shannon your actual information so that she and I can walk over to admissions and just make sure that your thing is not stuck. And then we can give you some sort of update on where it's at.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back. We have time for just a couple of more questions. So we'll be back with more of Ask Dr. Doreen.
Inclusion is everything. Feeling like we have a place where we belong, and when I say we, I'm first and foremost a mother of a child on the spectrum and not, and gym owner and now founder of carrying this to families who need it as well.
My son is extremely hyperactive. Getting him to calm down is a very difficult task. So the idea of Rock the Spectrum Gym, where he could just go and run and play and do all these fun things without any kind of worries and just go, go, go and bring down that energy, it helps us so much at home. You know, in the home or at school, it's not acceptable, but this is the one place it is acceptable for the child to kind of be themselves and get it all out there and just really just be themselves.
It's an amazing place where my son could go and be himself. You get to meet other parents who are in the same journey as you are.
I think the most popular aspect of it is how they include all children of all types. Not just all only learning disabled, lower functioning, moderate functioning, high functioning, and non-disabled.
The people there are so friendly, everybody's like family, they always greet you with a smile. There's not one negative thing I could say about any of the employees. They're all absolutely amazing. So I think every parent should walk in through those doors and see what an amazing gym it is.
Now a diagnosis being 1 out of 6 kids are in some way or form affected with sensory processing disorder or autism. That's why We Rock Now is on the rise. People want to be a part of it. People know that they have a community there. They know that they can learn more information about things that they don't know themselves or that they can share, build friendships, and basically get what you get in an OT facility, but it's not $150 an hour. It's $12.
Hi, I decided to start Autism Works Now as a small business because 90% of individuals with autism and related disabilities are not employed after graduating from high school. Our mission at Autism Works Now is to create job opportunities for spectrum youth and kids through awareness and education.
And we are back with Ask Dr. Doreen. We've got time for one quick question. Help, my 5-year-old refuses to go to timeout. He has ASD but is very high functioning. He knows the rules. When he hits his sister, he has to go into timeout, but I have to take him kicking and screaming. I feel like he's getting more upset. What else can I do? He can't keep hitting his sister. Thanks for your advice.
Absolutely. And I'm not like a big, I'm not a huge supporter of timeout.
Okay.
So I think we need to kind of figure out why he's hitting his sister, like it's sort of the function of his behavior. So either he's hitting his sister because he wants something, access to a tangible that she has, something that she has, or he's hitting his sister because he wants to get attention for that. Or she's doing something that's really annoying him, in which case he's trying to avoid that.
Right.
Whatever it is, right? So whichever one it is, you have to, if you have a good BCBA, they would help, behavior analyst, they would help you figure out which one it is. And that's really important. And by the way, it could be all three. In other words, it could be different ones at different times. So it is extremely important to determine what is the function. And then what you do is you don't allow him to get away with that, but you teach him how to express himself. So let's say he wants something and he hits his sister. Before he hits his sister, we have to teach him just to ask and say, can I have that? And then his sister needs to be willing to give it to him for 5 minutes or something. And that way he's now reinforced for asking appropriately as opposed to hitting. If it's attention seeking, you have to block it, not allow it to happen. And when it happens, like, you just need to keep them apart so it doesn't happen because he's trying to get attention. And you can't keep giving him attention for it, right? And if he's trying to avoid a situation, it's really about saying, I don't want to do this. And then he gets to not do it. So really, it's not about, you can't punish this behavior. You have to figure out why he's doing it. Because hitting for a 5-year-old high functioning child he's trying to communicate something. You have to figure out what that is.